morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle Byrne, and I work here in the LaPenta School of Business Dean's office, where I oversee student and alumni engagement initiatives. And this is our second year of doing this View from the C-Suite series. And as I was getting ready earlier, preparing for this, I was thinking to myself, wow, we've had this past 2 years an impressive list of alumni who have sat on this stage and to talk about their experiences and leadership and lessons learned throughout their careers. And so I'm happy to welcome Tom Wiffler. Here I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to just introduce you a little bit so people who know who you are. Tom is the Chief Executive Officer of specialty benefits at UnitedHealthcare, which is a subsidiary of UnitedHealth Group, which this year was ranked number 5, right, on the Fortune 500 list, and is the world's largest healthcare and insurance company. And so he joined the company in 1999, and he at UnitedHealthcare of Illinois. And he held multiple titles, including Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Executive Officer, basically every C-suite title that there is. Prior to that, he was in finance in New York, here in New York, and he began his career in the Marine Corps. And in 2020, Chicago, or in Crane's Chicago Business, actually listed you among one of the most notable veteran executives in 2020. And so Tom has a BBA in finance here from Iona, and he's also got an MBA from Notre Dame, and he's also a member of the Executive Advisory Council here in the LaPenta School of Business. And so tonight we're going to get Tom's views on the leadership, success, and the lessons that he's learned throughout his career. And many of the students here tonight will become future leaders, right? Or who may aspire to be a CEO at a Fortune 5 company, right? And so we'll start off tonight by getting your talking about your Iona story, and then your career journey. All right, and then we'll end with some words of wisdom that you have for the students, and then some Q&A. All right, and so Tom, really appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming all the way from Florida. Let's give him a round of applause. He came all the way from Florida, all right, to be here. All right, and he's with shout out to his mom. You just joined us, Miss Wiffler, and sister, right, family here to support. So we're happy to have you all here. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Kyle. Mm-hmm. And if you see me making weird facial gestures, it's because my right ear is clogged. So
yes.
I'm trying to unclog it before the night is out. That long list of distinguished graduates had been exhausted, and now you got to me. So I'll try to, what you'll get from me is candor. I grew up in Yonkers, son of a fireman and a homemaker. My mom joined us tonight, so I got to be behaving PC. On my language. But really thrilled to be here. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Dean DeMellis. This is cool. I sat in those seats a long time ago, graduated in 92. And the only thing I was really certain about was I was going to be a Marine officer at that point. I was convinced of doing that probably I like to say, very young. My dad was a Marine. My older brother is a Marine. We just had a Marine thing. I'll speak for myself, and I'm an unapologetic American. I love this country. I wanted to serve it, and I didn't have any plans after that. So I had a precise clarity on what I wanted to do after Iona, and then I got off active duty, and I'm like, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? So I would tell you that Iona was the foundation for me. I went to Iona Prep.
You were an Iona guy, right? I wanted to talk about that. You went to Iona Prep. Your family, all 4 of your siblings went here to Iona. You met your wife here. So talk about what Iona meant to you, and tell us your Iona story.
Yeah. So the funny part of it is I was put on a wait list at Iona Prep, and so I was convinced I was going to Stepanak because I got into Stepanak. Who went to Stepanak? Anybody? There we go.
We always have.
Anybody go to Iona Prep? There we go, just about even. So I was convinced I was going to Stepanak, and then I got the call that I got into Iona Prep, and then I was going to Iona Prep. So I went to Iona Prep. Tried out for basketball. I was a scrappy little basketball player. Back in the day, the coach would put the roster of who made it and who didn't, and there was a big black line. I was the first person underneath that black line, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? So I got into pole vaulting, and I was taught by a Christian brother named Brother Lopez. He taught me, he accelerated my crazy, so you have to be a little nuts to do that, and it was great. It was just the beginning of a cool athletic time at Iona Prep. Developed some cool friends, good skills, learned how to get tough, and got out of there. And the only place we really thought about was Iona College, because I had two siblings, my sister's here, and my oldest brother had come here, and it was a case where we had to pay the majority of our tuition by working. So I worked 50, 60 hours a week, morning, noon, and night. I worked in the accounts payable office here. I used to cut checks. I mean, it was just anything to make a buck. And
I think you even told us a story once that you needed extra help with buying your books, right? And then didn't one of the Christian brothers give you?
I was part of a leadership group, and Brother Devlin was the moderator. And Brother Devlin, I mentioned to him that I couldn't buy books because I had to wait for my next paycheck, and he pulled me aside and he slipped me some money, and I was able to buy my books. But it was his generosity of hearing that I needed money, and I don't know where he got the money, I'm not asking, but he was able to help me out, and I'll remember that forever, because he was very he was dialed in. I think
He just retired.
He's retired, okay, but
But I think it goes to show the community aspect, of Iona, and the people here really, trying to make sure the students succeed. And so, when you graduated from Iona, you entered the Marine Corps, right? And you worked your way up from logistics officer, to commander, to major, right? And so talk about, what made you transition to go into the Marines, and how did that experience impact really the trajectory of your life and your career?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying no one is born a leader. A lot of people have the capacity for it, but nobody's born a leader. It's a skill. It's a lifelong journey. It's something that if you're open to it, you can really get good at it. But it starts with humility, and it starts with, for me, it was I wanted to be a Marine officer, and I knew that to my soul. And once I got there, I was kind of like the dog who caught the car. Okay, now what? And my father gave us. The joke in the family was my father was an enlisted Marine, and his two sons, me and my brother, were officers, and he claimed he was the only real Marine in the family. You got that right. There's a former Marine right here. And his counsel to me was, listen to your staff NCOs. They will help you. If you don't listen to them, they will not help you. And so I was smart enough to do that. And it turned out to be a really cool time on active duty in the early 90s. The world was kind of quiet, so I didn't get to go anywhere. They taught me how to shoot competitively, so at one time I could hit a grapefruit at 1,000 yards with iron sights. For anybody that knows marksmanship, it's kind of cool. It doesn't translate to the corporate world at all. I left active duty mostly for family reasons. I wanted to not drag my family around the globe. And we settled down back in New York. We're both from here. I met my wife at Glory Days, the bar that is now, I think, a laundromat.
A lot of the bars closed.
Yeah, there's not a lot of bars left.
Now.
Probably a good thing.
Beachmont inspects that they know.
But it was the foundation for what I would say. If you're wondering, okay, this guy went through all these jobs and he's got all these fancy titles. It started with the Iona background, and then the Marine Corps taught me the basics of leadership. And leadership is really about working with people. It's about being open to relationships. It's about investing in others. It's putting yourself second, or even less than that. And I think I always try to keep things pretty simple. If you overcomplicate it, it's not going to work. And so that really has been some of the underpinnings, and it started with the Marine Corps. And as I got out, and then I thought about what am I going to do. My network came back into play.
Yeah, because so after the Marines, you briefly went into banking here, in New York, and so, but then, that was a brief stint, and then you transitioned into the health insurance industry, working for Aetna in IT and finance. So, what made you, you studied finance here at Iona? What made you decide to go into the healthcare industry?
It's funny. It was relationships. A buddy of mine had a job at Prudential Healthcare, and he said, "Hey, they need a finance guy." And I had no credentials in finance other than the degree that Iona gave me. But I was willing to do hard work and figured I could learn it if I didn't know it. And so I joined Prudential Healthcare, which eventually got bought by Aetna. And that started my career in healthcare. And my Aetna connection turned into a connection to move me to Chicago, where I had lived for up to last year, 23 years in a row, and raised my family there. And you'll all, who is everybody here from? Who is here that doesn't or didn't come from the tri-state area?
So meaning New York, not from New York,
like
New Jersey, or
5,
Connecticut.
6 states away. Anybody from California? All right. Well, most New Yorkers go over the George Washington Bridge, and they think they're going to see some corn, and then they're going to get to the Pacific Ocean. Or at least that's what I thought. And my wife and I took our 2 little boys and made the journey to Chicago because that was where the opportunity was. And so we had no idea what we were in for. The offer was, I think it was like $10,000 more than I was making in New York. And then I famously said, "Oh, we're going to build a house." And then someone in this room, who happens to be my sister, said, "You can't build a house in Chicago." And that took I made a little motivation out of that. We did. We built a little family house, and we still have it. But we built it in a cornfield because that's where we could afford. So that started my Chicago journey, which lasted a total of 23 years.
So we'll get to that now. So you're at United Health Group, and which I mentioned is a division of United. No, you're at UnitedHealthcare, which is a division of United Health Group, right?
Correct.
And in 2023, United Health Group, was ranked number 5 on the Fortune 500 list, right under companies like Amazon, Apple, ExxonMobil, Walmart, right? Pretty good companies to be surrounded by. And I'm not so sure the students in the audience tonight how much they are thinking about health insurance right now. So talk about like what the company does, how is it different from the other companies, right? And how did it become so successful? In 2023, it grew over to $370 billion in revenue.
Yeah, so we're United Health Group is the kind of holding company. There's 2 big businesses underneath that. One is called UnitedHealthcare. The other is called Optum. UnitedHealthcare is a benefits business. So think of all of you are either on your parents' plans or you have your own student plan that you purchased through the school, administered by Aetna or somebody. I don't know who it might be here, but we also support Medicare and Medicaid programs, and we also do white label business, meaning we sit behind other brands to enable their brands to come to market, all on the benefits side. Optum, think of them as a services business. They have a pharmacy benefit manager. They have an insights group, technology company. They have all the enabling functions of services that help the healthcare system kind of operate. Where companies may not want to do certain functions, they'll outsource it to Optum. All told, that company is those big numbers you said. I try to make it as small as possible because when you stare at big numbers, you get dizzy and you tune out. I think it's cool. I started, there were 20,000 employees in 1999. There are now 440,000. across the globe. And
So in 1999, you started at UnitedHealthcare of Illinois, right? And you were, you worked your way up. You were you started as director of finance, then you became, CFO, COO, and CEO, right? So talk about, your time in Chicago and how you were able to, rise up the ladder so quickly.
so one of the things that I think is true, it's true no matter what year you're talking or what decade you're talking. There are, in corporate America, there are a lot of what I call dead wood. There are people just occupying time and space. And some of them are good at what they do, and some of them aren't. And I'm a very competitive person. And I wanted to rise in the ranks of the company primarily to be able to take care of my family. I don't love money. I'm not chasing money all the time. I just learned at an earlier age, money gives you options. It allows you to do things that you can choose, you can make decisions about. You don't have to, if you make a lot of money, you can put it all in the bank. You make a lot of money,
nice
you
toys.
can spend it all. Yeah. But my motivation was to essentially compete to prove that I could be good at whatever the task was. So I tried to master the CFO role. And then I was told once, oh, you're just an finance operator. Because I was thinking about this other job. That, to me, was like, okay, now you've just challenged me. I need to go prove that I can go to this other job. And I went for that COO job and got it. And that broadened my responsibilities. And it also humbled me because I realized kind of quickly, like, wow, there's a lot of this stuff I don't really know. So I better learn it. And I go back to what I said about the Marine Corps. I embraced the experts, the people who've been doing this for years, and learned from them, kept my ears open and my mouth shut. And that served me well. And I would say to you all, you're never going to be ready for the job that you're going to be offered. You're not going to be ready. And if you do, or if you are, it's probably not the right job. So put yourself out there. You're going to stretch yourself, and don't settle. Don't settle for being told you're not ready for that job, or you might not get the job, but don't settle for someone saying this job isn't for you, or you're not qualified, or you don't have what it takes.
Fake it till you make it.
Oh, you could say that, yeah.
So talk about, so now your current title at the company is Chief Executive Officer of Specialty Benefits. So describe, what you do in your current role.
So we have a portfolio of businesses that are all complementary to the medical insurance that you all carry in your pockets today. So dental, vision, life and disability insurance. We have a hearing program where we sell hearing aids. We do insurance for companies that need to insure, if they self-fund their own medical claims, then we can put excess coverage above that. It's called stop loss. These are kind of technical insurance terms, but that portfolio represents about $7 billion of revenue. It's about 2,500 people. We're in all 50 states. We serve over 53 million people through that portfolio, and we focus it on 4 distinct channels. The commercial channel, which is mostly your employers who offer insurance, your Medicare cohort, which is typically the 65 and above cohort, Medicaid, who are the underserved in our communities. In 2025, there are expected to be 100 million people in Medicaid programs across the country. And then the 4th channel is what we call white label. So we bring all of our capabilities to a company, but we sit behind their brand, and it looks like their brand, not ours. We're just the machine behind it.
So you lead a team of, 2,000 people, roughly? And so, I'm sure leadership is, a big part of your role, right? And so talk about, how you would describe yourself as a leader, and what are some leadership principles or values that have really kind of been instrumental throughout your career?
Um, Keeping it simple is one of the biggest ones for me. Integrity is paramount. It all starts and ends there. Uh, I have a 2-level screening process for people to come join the team. The requirements are you have to be smart and you have to be nice. And people usually laugh at that. And smart is, you can have whatever, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you have a 4.0 or me got a 2.78 out of here by the skin of my teeth. You have to have the capacity to learn, the curiosity. And the nice part, I don't want to work with jerks. So, if you fool me and you get in, you're not going to stay long. I don't have any time for that. The drama is low because we are in a business of helping people, and we don't have any capacity for that. So that's noise in the system. Smart and nice is all it takes, and you got to work hard. I think that resilience and grit are two things that come to mind.
Well, we had in our last executive advisory council meeting, I think it was you who brought up that Iona students were always known for having, grit and resilience. These were two qualities that when you were here that you thought that, Iona students possess. So talk about that. Talk about, what those two qualities mean for you and why are they so important in the workforce?
So raise your hand if you're a first-generation college student. Okay, it's like 90% of the room. How many of you are working more than 10 hours a week? You better be, Michelle. My sister is. That's it. Look, you're all, how many people are working more than 30 hours a week? I was right there with you. I was cranking out 40 to 50 hours a week all the time. And Iona students do that. Because the people who raise their hands that said you're first generation, if your parents are still with us, they're going to be the proudest people on earth when they see you walk across that stage or however the diplomas are distributed. They're going to be thrilled. That's going to be for them like the Super Bowl. And that is the foundational ingredient. Those are the foundational ingredients for you for the rest of your career. Oh, you're going to make me work 40 hours a week? Great. When I got out of Marine Corps, I was like, I'm only going to have to work 40, maybe 50 hours a week. This is cool. I ended up working a lot more than that, but that was by choice. But I really think there's something special within, and it was true. If we had this room in 1988 when I started here, the hands would have been very similar. This is a school that is relatively affordable and gives you a great education, and it will be something that you will take with you for the rest of your lives.
We'll talk more about that later on, but I wanted to go back to just in terms of United Health Group. Innovation is critical in healthcare, and last year Fortune magazine actually listed your company as one of the most innovative companies in America, and I just wanted to get a sense of what do you see as the future of healthcare, and how is United Health Group shaping that future?
Yeah, so healthcare is changing almost probably by the minute. Whether it's advances in technology that help identify new solutions to illness or better ways to interpret data. The rate of change in healthcare is probably one of the things that attracted me to it. Was it's never boring, and I can't sit still. And my mother probably attests to that. I just can't sit still. And so healthcare is a great place to experience that. There's a gap that we're trying to close now where everyone in this room has, who doesn't have a phone on them right now? Nobody. Everybody has a phone. And if you wanted to buy something, you could go right now on your phone and order it from Amazon, it'll be at your house tonight or tomorrow. Healthcare isn't like that yet. Healthcare is behind, and it's the journey we're on now, and we're not unique in this. The whole industry is moving this to a much more consumer-centric model, where the consumer is in charge, where your employer isn't telling you these are your benefits. They're saying here's a menu of benefits. Which ones would you like? And that decision is supported by a personalized experience around what would be really best for you, not what we think you should have. And so there's a real focus on bringing this business into a very consumer-focused lens, through a consumer-focused lens, and really making sure that there's value at the end of the day that you're paying for. And that is really it's value-based care and consumerism are really the linchpins of healthcare today.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure, being a CEO, you're a pretty busy guy, right? And so, and you have a wife and kids, and a topic among, students that's very important nowadays is work-life balance. And so I wanted to just get a sense of, how have you been able to prioritize, having being a parent and a CEO and maintaining a healthy, work-life balance? Like, what are some things that worked for you and principles that you keep in mind for that?
Yeah, I would admit when I was younger, I probably didn't have really any semblance of balance. I think during the day, I would get up before the sun came up and I would go to work, and I worked in downtown Chicago, and it was usually a 40-minute to an hour or more commute. I drove every day. As my kids got older, I tried to be very deliberate about coaching them in their sports. I coached basketball and baseball and softball and soccer. I'm not good at soccer, so I recognized early that I shouldn't be coaching soccer. So I now think of it more as it's not balance, it's choices. It's how do you want to spend your day? And there are certain things, your work day is really not negotiable, but nowadays it's a little more negotiable with a lot of working at home, post-pandemic. Companies are much more flexible about how the work day looks. But for me, I think if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't have done a 180, but I probably would have been a little more aware of the do I come home at 7 o'clock p.m. or do I come home at 4 and have dinner together with the family? My parents were, it was like prison. You had to be at the dinner table every night or you didn't eat. And that wasn't a joke. Like, you just didn't eat if you weren't at the dinner table.
Mama Wiffler was pretty strict.
Yeah, my dad was.
Blame it on the father.
Yeah, he can't defend himself. He's passed, but it was true. He was the tyrant. Yeah, I think that, and I think now as we're seeing, as you all enter the workforce, either this coming year or in the next couple of years, you're going to be introduced to a work model that will probably have some version of working at home or working remotely. And I think what you're going to have to try to figure out for yourself is where do you put the boundaries? Because if you stay in your pajamas all day, which nobody does that anymore. Nobody's working in their pajamas. Yes, they are. You have to decide, when does the workday start and when does it end? And if you keep your laptop open all night, you're going to work all night. And it's going to impact your own peace of mind, your own health, if you have a relationship, your significant other's going to have a say in that. And I think this is something that every employer is dealing with. What does working look like going forward? Because it's not driving an hour to New York or getting on the train and going to the city every day. Those days are largely over, in my opinion.
One of the since I started this role, we kind of talked about this before, but since I started this role, I've gotten to know our students, pretty well, and especially those who are in the process of applying to internships and jobs. And one of the things I've noticed is that many of our students experience imposter syndrome. This feeling that I'm not good enough, or why would they hire me from Iona over someone from a bigger school, right? But I think that, you and the other C-suite executives who have sat on this stage are great examples of what you can become with an Iona degree. And so I wanted to know, did you experience imposter syndrome? I mean, we've all faced it at some point in our lives. Did you experience it, when you were at Iona, or even in your career? And how have you maintained that confidence?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I have plenty of examples of that. I remember one meeting came to mind where we went around the table and everybody said where they went to undergrad and when they went to B school. I didn't even know what B school was at the time. And I'm thinking to myself, should I be thinking about B school? And I was a CEO of a $1 billion subsidiary. I had like 150 people on my team. I didn't have a master's degree. I own a BBA, finance. And I was running circles around most of those folks. And so I didn't really focus on that much. I kept going back to, what am I producing? What are my results? How am I leading people? How am I communicating with others? And I think, yeah, there's the old joke of, you own a what? Used to be Iona College. Now it's Iona University. Yeah, you own a university. And so
sounds better than a college, to be honest.
Yeah, well, some of us have nostalgic trinkets at home that keep us
vintage
remembering.
now.
But yeah, and I went back 20 years after I graduated. I made a decision. Initially, it felt like the dog that caught the car. I got into Notre Dame's executive MBA program, and I did that because I wanted to challenge myself. I was already, the CEO of this business. I put it in quotes just because I'm not hung up on titles. I have a fancy title. I'm blessed to have it. But my point about the MBA was I have to stretch my brain. The wow curve at work was kind of flattening. And I felt like I need to do something about that. It's not reading more books. It's not watching more TV or YouTube videos or TED Talks. And I learned very quickly that my brain was very rusty doing calculus at 40. It's not recommended, but you can get through it. And I think what it did for me was it cleared the decks on all that. Where did you go to B school? I went to Notre Dame. Who hasn't heard of Notre Dame? Right. My point, too, was I wanted to be part of that network. I wanted to be at that table. I wanted to be in that group because after I got my degree, I earned the right to be there. And my point is, every one of you can do that, too. You're not limited to anything. Again, this is the foundation for great things that you're going to do in your careers. Some of you aren't thinking that way right now, which is completely appropriate. You don't have to have your life figured out in college. My wife and I joke about what we want to be when we grow up, because we're still not sure. So,
well, on that point, I noticed that there's a lot of students in tonight, from all class years and majors, and so what should the freshmen, sophomores here be thinking about now, as they begin, as they're in the beginning of their Iona journey, before it's too late? And what should the juniors and seniors be thinking about? Many of the seniors are going to be starting their careers in just 3 months, right? And so that's crazy. So, what should they be thinking about as they start the workforce?
I'll go with the older cohort first. It's time to grow up. You're going to be out there sitting in front of somebody, working with them, either on a screen or across the desk from them. And all the skills and knowledge you learned here and through your life to date is all going to come to be when you have to be who you are in front of those people. And so spend less time on the gram and Snapchat, and Challenge yourself to put your phone down. Pick up the Wall Street Journal and start reading it if you don't already. You don't have to pick it up. That's old. I'm dating myself. You can just log in. But start behaving like an early stage
yeah,
career.
Having an opinion on things that are happening in the world, right? Current events and all that and stuff. And so
Absolutely.
here in LaPenta School of Business, we emphasize connections. And so, could you discuss the importance of building a network and mentorship? I mean, do you have a mentor? And what advice do you have for students? For building a network, because it's one thing to meet somebody, right? But it's another thing to actually maintain that relationship. And so, discuss your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I didn't value that. I didn't put enough emphasis on that as a younger person, and I would say that to the freshmen and sophomores in the room. It's not too late either for the juniors and seniors, but you should be very deliberate about building your network. And who are the people that are your personal board of directors? Who are the people that you're going to confide in and ask them questions that you wouldn't ask somebody else? LinkedIn is a great platform. Keep it professional. Don't post stuff on there that you don't want a future employer to see. You've probably heard that story a million times, right? I tell my kids that and they roll their eyes. But it's true. I mean, nowadays you have to be very aware of the digital footprint you're leaving. And I think LinkedIn is a great platform for business connections. I used to have a rule when I wouldn't connect with you on LinkedIn unless I shook your hand. That was my thing. Because I get bombarded. If I go to I do some of these kind of talks, not at a school, but I do business luncheon things, and I'll get like 300 requests to connect. I'm not just trying to accumulate likes or whatever it is, connections. I had to abandon my little model of I had to shake your hand because the world became pretty digital and diverse and separated, and COVID hit, and so now I screen it through kind of a why are you connecting? I've gotten a couple. I don't know. Some of you in this room have sent me some links in the last 2 days, connection requests. I'll get to that. I'm just behind. But I'm always wondering, like, why? What is there two-way value here? I'm always willing to help. And you brought up mentorship. I've been mentoring coworkers and been a mentee for most of my career. This might be news to my mom and sister, but I have had I've hired dozens of military transitioning members into my company. And I've also mentored them coming out of the military that haven't come to my company. I was doing that before it was cool. Like guys coming back from Fallujah, which was one of the most god-awful battles in the Iraq War. And some of those guys now are millionaires. And I'm very proud of the fact that they've transitioned. But the real value of mentorship is it's a two-way street. It's not just the old person telling the young person what to do. And I've done reverse mentoring, and it's been very valuable. I think get serious about making your connections. Have a plan. It doesn't need to be a 20-year plan. What are you going to do in the next 30 days to advance your LinkedIn profile? Because you're going to get recruiters are going to look at it. They're going to look at your profile and say, did this person put any time into it?
Yeah, for sure. And also, starting early. I can't tell you with how many second semester seniors I meet with who are now just starting to realize that they need to get a job, right? And now they've, are starting to build their resume, their LinkedIn profile, right? Starting to make connections and apply. Right? And it's like, well, what have you done with these past 4 years, right? And so, don't, not waiting until the last minute. And while, you're a freshman, it starts from day one, right? Going throughout these 4 years, building a network, right? And getting involved, building leadership, and differentiating yourself by getting these skills, right? That will make you more competitive in the work world.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all at once. I mean, you could, eat the elephant one bite at a time kind of approach, but be deliberate about it. College is not meant to be a grind, but sometimes it is. you're probably not going to have more fun in the future than you are now. So enjoy it. Don't rush it. Don't rush to get out of here, but have a plan to get out of here.
But it does also go by fast.
It goes by so fast. I felt when I came back last year for the first time, it was weird. I mean, there were no buildings on this campus. Now it's like, wow, you got a great set of buildings and capabilities here. Take advantage of all of it, because we didn't. I'm just sound like the old guy. We didn't have that, but we used to have a grass hill we'd sit on. Now there's a building over there, and a Starbucks. Yeah, it goes fast. Enjoy it, but also keep that eye toward.
Yeah, because
you're going to run out of time.
Why do you go to school? Obviously to learn, but also, right, to get a degree, right, to get a job, right, and so all the things that we're doing here in the business school, like networking events with alumni, it helps make those connections to help you make it easier for you, when you time to get a job. And so, as someone who has hired a lot of people in your career, what specific skill sets or qualities do you look for in fresh hires right out of school?
So I want, if I meet you in person, I want you to shake my hand and look me in the eye and say hello. Don't stare at your shoes. Don't look over my shoulder. Although that's easy because I'm only 5'7". But that's sort of the start of it. And then, yeah, you're 22 years old. You don't have 22 years of experience in work. I get that. What I'm looking for is, are you curious about this role? Are you bringing an energy level that I can kind of sense? Can you communicate with me just what are the things that you're good at? And it doesn't have anything to do with the job. I'm a hard worker. I'm self-motivated. You're never going to have to tell me something to do twice. I'm going to take the initiative on things that you're not going to have to ask me to do that. I'm going to lean into being part of a team. Those sound like things you learned in kindergarten, but it's true.
Well, I teach communication classes here. My students in the audience, will know that I tell them that when you get your internship or a job, right, your employer's they're gonna teach you everything that you need to know about a job. But they're not going to teach you the basic soft skills, right? Communication, how to talk to someone, how to look someone in the eye, give them a handshake, right? Call someone by their name, all that stuff. Because, like I said, they're going to teach you everything. I just was at the career fair today, and the guy from Heineken, go figure, he said this, but he said that when he's hiring somebody, that the thing that he looks for is, can I have a beer with this person?
That's good. I like that.
Of course, the skills and everything like that, but, the resume. But when it comes to actually hiring, can I see myself having a beer with this person? I thought that was very clever.
I like that. That's a great, yeah, I think it goes back to what I said about being smart and nice. I think, you want to work with people who you like. And it's pretty obvious if you're working with somebody you don't like, that comes out in sometimes bad ways, and it's probably time for a change there, right? But you want to work with people you like, who are likable. Do they pass the beer test? That's a great one. That's really, again, keeping it simple. You're going to spend a lot of time working with people. You're going to have to give of yourself. You're going to have to open yourself up and be vulnerable to them and to the group. You have to be confident in who you are at your core. So if you're still on that journey, take that inventory. What are you? Who are you? Start rattling off who you are.
So in the interview process, are there any specific questions that you like to ask, or what do you actually look for when you're sitting down with somebody?
Nonverbal communication is important to me. It starts with, what are you wearing? Bless you. Did you take this serious enough to put some good clothes on? Did you prepare? And then when we start talking, well, I already mentioned the handshake. When we start talking, did you do any homework on what the role is or what the company's about? And that doesn't mean you have to tell us the history of the company, but you got to give me something that shows that you're leaning into this and you're curious about it. The energy level is something I'm testing for.
I mean, it's stuff that sounds so obvious, but many people don't do it, which is crazy.
Yeah. Everybody, I think, at their core has a strong degree of confidence, and I think we've kind of gotten into this like rounding to the negative side around just life. Like we try to find fault in things instead of pumping things up toward positive. And I think I don't pretend to have the solution to that. My own solution is I keep driving forward. My family and we have a running joke in the family. I've said, I've really subscribed to don't quit. Like, it goes back to my Marine Corps days. Like, I will not quit. Like, there's a Will, what's his name? The actor, Will Smith. Not saying he's the epitome of good behavior, but he has a great quote. He's like, I will outwork you, like, something like, I will die before you beat me. That's kind of my own little mantra inside, and it's morphed over time as I've gotten older. It's probably a little more sophisticated than it used to be, but I think everybody has to find their own, like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit on this. The joke in the family is my little brother says, just quit. Like, get on to something new. Don't waste your energy on sticking with something you don't like. But the point is, that goes back to that grit and resilience. You all have it because you're here. Most of the room put their hands up when I asked if you're the first generation student, college student. Half of the room is working full time or close to it. You're already doing all the hard work. Some of you, when you get that real first job, you're going to be like, wow, I'm getting more money than I ever thought I was going to get. And I don't have to do anything after 5 o'clock. Wow, just sign me up, you know. That's a good deal.
Opportunities. The former president of Iona used to say that the world is run by the people who show up. And that always stuck with me because I thought that was very insightful, that, showing up, you're going to be presented with more opportunities in life.
Yeah. The other thing I would say to that theme, don't ever, ever, ever let the words, that's not my job, come out of your mouth. Don't ever do that. Like, ever. If there's a bag of garbage on the side of the room and it needs to go to that door, take it out. Don't say that's not your job. I do that. I expect others to do that. I think it's the simple things, like don't get confined to your, this is my job description. And I think that 80% of life is showing up is true. And the other thing I'd like to
yeah, we're going to move into, we have about 10 minutes left, so I want to, we're going to move into Q&A, but before we end, is there anything else that you'd like to say or add before we open it up to questions for the students? Yeah,
there's a phrase, it's hard to get New Yorkers to believe this, but we learned in our company, we did a culture journey over multiple years, like trying to figure out who we were as a company. There's a phrase that we try to remind everybody of. It's called assume positive intent. And so when you come to a meeting, you come to an engagement with somebody, assume positive intent. Assume they're coming to this conversation with positive intent. They're not trying to get you. I was just about to say something bad, but my mom's here. Assume they're coming to this open-handed. That's what the history of a handshake is, to prove that I don't have a weapon. That's essentially what a handshake is. Assume positive intent. And if you come to that engagement with that mindset, it opens doors that you probably never would have opened. It's hard in New York because everybody's cutting you off and you got a million things going on, and I got to catch my train or bus, or there's too many people at the red light. Assume positive intent.
I think we're going to end on there. Everyone, let's give Tom a round of applause for tonight, for coming all the way here to speak. This was awesome. Appreciate your time, and you may get 100 more LinkedIn requests after tonight, but
yeah. So if you attended and you send me a LinkedIn request with a note, if you just hit connect and don't add a note,
yeah, the personalized note,
I'm not connecting with you. If you send it with a note, I'll connect with you and
I
let's
tended
start a
to talk
conversation.
tonight, fellow Iona grad or student. Look forward to connecting.
Yeah, happy to help. Yeah, Nick, code word. But I appreciate the time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the opportunity. Good luck to all of you. Sky's the limit. Don't let anybody hold you back. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you successful in my seat one day.